Stop scrolling and listen closely, because the red line we all feared has just been obliterated. We are not talking about a warning anymore, we are talking about a reality that is unfolding right now. At this very second, urgent reports are flooding in from intelligence agencies across the globe confirming that a massive, foreign military force has officially entered the European theater. This is the news that changes everything. As you watch this, thousands of North Korean soldiers, the Storm Corps, are not just training, they are on the ground in Russian uniforms, moving toward the front lines of Ukraine. This is the moment historians will look back on as the start of a global conflict. The ghost trains we suspected months ago have arrived, and they have unloaded an army. Vladimir Putin has done the unthinkable. He has internationalized the war, dragging the Korean peninsula into the heart of Europe. The satellite images hitting the desks of NATO commanders this morning show a level of escalation that is frankly terrifying. This isn't a proxy war anymore. It is a direct fusion of two nuclear-armed dictatorships fighting a single war against the West. But you have to ask yourself, why now? And more importantly, why is the mainstream media not screaming about this? The answer is panic. Governments are scrambling because there is no protocol for this. A third country has entered the chat, and it's one of the most unpredictable regimes on Earth. Imagine the sheer desperation required for a supposed superpower like Russia to beg for manpower from an impoverished Terma kingdom. It signals that the Russian war machine is broken, bleeding, and running on fumes. But in its desperation, it has unlocked a new level of danger. These North Korean troops, raised in total isolation and fed a diet of anti-Western hatred, are now standing in the trenches of Kursk, facing modern drone warfare for the first time. This is a clash of eras, a collision of 1950s indoctrination with 2025 technology. The fuse has been lit today. The silence from the Kremlin is deliberate. They want to normalize this before the world can react. But make no mistake, the war you knew yesterday is over. A new, darker chapter has begun, and the soldiers of Kim Jong-un are writing the first page with blood. The question is no longer if the war will expand, but how fast will the fire spread to your doorstep? Now that the shock of the news has settled, we need to look at the dark deal that made this nightmare possible. What we are witnessing is the result of a secret handshake that took place in the shadows of the Vostokny Cosmodrome. When Vladimir Putin drove Kim Jong-un in that luxury limousine, they weren't just exchanging pleasantries, they were bartering the safety of the entire planet. We know what Russia got: bodies to throw into the meat grinder and millions of artillery shells to keep their guns firing. But the terrifying part, the part that should keep you awake at night, is what Kim Jong-un got in return. This wasn't a donation, it was a purchase. Intelligence suggests that Moscow has handed over the crown jewels of Soviet military technology, the secrets to miniaturizing nuclear warheads, and the blueprints for silent, nuclear-powered submarines. Think about the implications of that trade. In exchange for a temporary boost in the Donbas, Russia may have just given North Korea the ability to strike the United States mainland with impunity. Has Putin, in his obsession with Ukraine, accidentally armed a monster in the Pacific that no one can control? This alliance has effectively destroyed the decades-long blockade of sanctions against North Korea. We are seeing Russian oil tankers, right now, churning off their transponders and docking in North Korean ports, refilling the regime's fuel reserves that were running empty. This economic lifeline makes Kim Jong-un immune to Western pressure. He doesn't need to negotiate anymore. He has a permanent member of the UN Security Council as his personal bodyguard. This deal has turned the UN into a theater of the absurd, where the arsonist is also the fire chief. But there is a hidden danger for Russia in this deal too. By inviting North Korean engineers to study modern warfare up close, are they inadvertently training the future commanders who will one day turn those lessons against Russia's own interests in the East? History is littered with alliances of convenience that turn into bitter rivalries. The transfer of military technology is a genie that cannot be put back in the bottle. Once North Korea has the tech to build hypersonic missiles, the threat level for the entire planet shifts permanently into the red. We are often too focused on the immediate battlefield in Ukraine to see the long game, but the legacy of this specific deal will be felt for decades in the silent depths of the Pacific Ocean. Let's zoom in on the ground reality, because what is happening in the trenches right now is a recipe for a massacre that borders on tragicomedy. Drop a North Korean soldier, who has trained his entire life for a war of the 1950s, into the hypermodern hellscape of 2025, and you get chaos. These men are physically tough, yes, but they have never seen a first-person DUFPV drone buzzing like an angry hornet before it slams into their dugout. They have no concept of electronic warfare jamming their radios. The reports leaking from the front lines describe a massive language barrier. Russian commanders are screaming orders that the North Korean infantry cannot understand, leading to friendly firing units getting lost in the gray zones of the front. Imagine the panic of a coordinated assault where the infantry can't talk to the artillery support. It turns the battlefield into a slaughterhouse. But perhaps that is the cold, cruel calculation of the Russian command. Are these troops here to fight? Or are they just meat? Is Putin using them as human probes to reveal Ukrainian firing positions so that his own elite units can survive? It is a cynical use of human life that fits perfectly with the Russian doctrine of attrition. On the flip side, for the North Korean regime, this is a live-fire testing ground. They are finally getting to see how their ballistic missiles perform against top-tier Western air defense systems like the Patriot. Every missile that is shot down provides data. Every soldier that dies provides a lesson. They are learning how to fight a 21st century war using Russian blood and Ukrainian soil as the classroom. But there is a risk of truth contagion here too. These North Korean soldiers are seeing something they have been told doesn't exist. A world outside the Kim dynasty, even in the ruined villages of Ukraine. They see refrigerators, paved roads, and a standard of living that exposes the lies of their own government. What happens if some of them survive and go back? Will they carry the dangerous virus of truth back to the hermetically sealed society of North Korea? Or will they be liquidated before they can ever speak? The integration of these two disparate military machines is clumsy, fraught with friction, and incredibly bloody. We are hearing stories of Russian soldiers stealing equipment from their new allies, creating a rift in the trenches that could explode into mutiny. The ripple effect of this alliance has crashed into the geopolitical shore with the force of a tsunami, and the consequences are spiraling out of control as we speak. Look at South Korea. For years, Seoul refused to send lethal aid to Ukraine, trying to maintain a delicate balance. But now, that balance is dead. Seeing their archenemy gaining combat experience in Russian tech, South Korea is now preparing to flood Ukraine with their own advanced weapons. We are standing on the precipice of a proxy war between the two Koreas, being fought thousands of miles away on European soil. This is the nightmare scenario of globalization. A decision made in Pyongyang kills a man in Kharkov, and a decision made in Seoul destroys a tank in Kursk. The entry of North Korea has also energized NATO, proving that the enemies of the West are coalescing into a single, operational bloc. It validates the fears that this is not just a war for territory, but a systemic challenge to the entire democratic world. But here is the ultimate question that no one in Washington wants to answer. What is the new red line? If a French missile fired by a Ukrainian strikes a North Korean base inside Russia, and Kim Jong-un declares it an act of war, does the Mutual Defense Treaty between Russia and North Korea trigger? We are walking through a minefield blindfolded. The escalation ladder has lost its rungs. We are skipping steps, moving from regional conflict to intercontinental crisis in the blink of an eye. And where is China? Beijing is watching this with deep suspicion. Xi Jinping has always viewed North Korea as his vassal, his buffer zone. How does he feel about Putin stealing his influence over Kim Jong-un? There is a subtle game of jealousy playing out between the dictators. But if this alliance drags the US deeper into the conflict, China might be forced to act to secure its own interests. The world is becoming more brittle by the day. The safeguards that prevented great power conflict during the Cold War are eroding. We are replacing diplomacy with artillery shells. As we watch this unholy alliance unfold in real time, we must ask ourselves, are we watching a temporary anomaly? Or the first chapter of World War III? The soldiers are marching, the factories are churning, and the politicians are gambling with stakes they can't cover. The trap has been sprung, and the world is stepping right into it.